This is Moses Maina on Teke Teke Nation Live, and just looking at what's happening in Kenya this week. So we are anticipating to have the demonstrations by the Azimio team on Wednesday in CBD. They had previously indicated they would want to do a rally at Kamkunji, but again now there are calls to do this from CBD. And the main purpose is to the issue of the IBC4 that the Ruto government has really been pushing, that the 4 IBC commissioners that had dissenting views in regards to Chebukati's announcement, they get grilled, and then with an end game of getting them out of IBC. So it's an early planning process as people look at what would happen in 2027. So both the Azimio side and the Kenya Kwanza side would want to ensure that whoever is at the IBC is a good referee for either of the sides. But now seeing what Raila has decided to do, holding demonstrations against the ouster of the 4 IBC commissioners. 2, they have also added a second agenda is to demonstrate against the high cost of living as well. And also there is an allegation about the judiciary having been pocketed by this government. And so a couple of things here that are quite interesting. But you remember the president earlier on, before he even became president, he clearly indicated that he was not very comfortable with the handshake stories. And even after his swearing in, Ruto has maintained ever since that for him, no handshake. But we have all been in Kenya and we know what happens in our politics. And Baba is an enigma as usual. There is a way Raila understands how to negotiate and navigate around people with very hard political stands. And I think this is a very interesting time considering how Ruto has been really against the handshake. And now Raila is coming in with a new strategy. Because what Raila wants to do is to ensure that he disempowers Ruto. He makes Ruto uncomfortable. Because just see, in the recent past, Ruto has been laying down his agenda. He has already launched the Hustler Fund. And so the country is kind of calming down. The cost of living is still high though, but things are a bit calming down. But Raila is finding a way to really come into this space, stabilize the peace that the president has been having since his swearing in, to ensure that he's invited on the negotiating table. So negotiations are difficult. At times you might wait to be invited, but if you are not invited on the negotiating table, you invite yourself. And so Raila is becoming so proactive. He's seeing time is really moving, and maybe the president is not reaching out to really engage him. And so being in the opposition at times can really get extremely cold. No resources, the big things Raila had been used to in the Uhuru government. Uhuru used to say my elder brother, and so Raila alikuwa na hizo magari manini, all those resources which are not at his disposal as of now. And so when he pushes for what he's now talking about, these demonstrations, goes to Kamkunji, addresses the public, his supporters, he goes to CBD. This means that he will destabilize the peace that the president has been having for a couple of days now. What Ruto will be forced to do, in my own view, and I could be wrong because I've been wrong a couple of times before, is he might be forced, just maybe, to have a discussion with the leader of opposition. In the process, they might end up agreeing on some sort of a deal. That deal would want to put Raila in a slightly more comfortable position, just to manage him. As that happens, Raila will still get to his comfort zone. So the question would be, what would happen to the Kalonzos, the Martha Karuas, and the other guys in the Azimio team? Because you remember what happened in 2018 when Raila went for the handshake with Uhuru. His other brothers remained in the cold. What would be different this time around? If Raila manages to negotiate his way, to push his way on the negotiation table with the president, would he still manage to bring Martha Karua, Kalonzo Musyoka, and the other people who are around them into this? How would Martha Karua, how would Kalonzo Musyoka, and the other politicians supporting Azimio leader benefit from the anticipated negotiations? Or would it be a point of kila mtu ajipange, because in 2018 when Raila shook hands with the president Uhuru, ilibidi ajipange, kila msee ajisort. So maybe it's that time that every man must stand for himself. So we are here to watch. Wednesday is the day where we expect to have these demonstrations. Ruto and his deputy have already indicated clearly they want to know the clear plan for these demos. If they're happening daily, they're happening weekly, they're happening monthly, and for how many years. If you remember Ruto's speech yesterday in Embu. So the question is, as Raila does this, Ruto's personality is so different from Uhuru. Ruto isn't a very calm guy that and a softened so easily. For him, he looks to be like this very difficult guy that is willing to come head on. So interesting times, really interesting times to be in Kenya. And we as the citizens, we can only wait and see what happens on Wednesday, and what is the strategy that Raila and his team have to really push and influence the citizenry to come out in large numbers and demonstrate, until Ruto sees the need to call Raila on the negotiating table. And as we anticipate for Raila to be called on the negotiating table, the question is, whatever they will agree on, how will Martha Karua, Kalonzo Musyoka, and the other Azimio brigade benefit from this? But from my own understanding, I think Raila has realized he's a bit cold in the opposition, and he needs to fix this by pushing government, by pushing the president to invite him for some sort of negotiations. Maybe it could just open up an opportunity for another handshake. Thank you, and subscribe on our YouTube channel, Teke Teke Nation Live.